All right, welcome everybody to a very special edition of Take the Black. We're here with Lino Facioli, who everyone here should know as Lord Robin Arryn of the Vale from his time on Game of Thrones. Lino, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Enjoying this wonderful lockdown that we find ourselves in the middle of. So, appreciate you taking the time. I'd love to talk about your character in the show. Jumping right in, what was it like? You kind of had a unique situation. Your character jumped in and out of the show for a couple seasons at a time. So, what was it like for you to go from to basically grow up on the show, but kind of years at a time?
Man, it was it's like you said, it was quite a patchy thing, right? Like I wasn't like some of the main cast who were there, for example, like Isaac and all the other like child actors who started off right from the beginning and basically grew up on set. For me, it was like you said, it was on and off, which in a way was quite interesting because for like the majority of my life, I was just like a normal kid. I was in school. I was living the life of anyone else my age, really.
Mm-hmm.
But then every now and then, I'd get called up, usually quite short notice, and I'd go off to Belfast and film for about a week,
Mm-hmm.
and then go back to my normal life after that. So it made it feel quite special.
Yeah.
And I think it was very nice to have a bit of both. So yeah, it was fantastic. I feel very fortunate.
And what was it? How when you did return to the set, how was it to see some of the cast members that you hadn't seen before, or not before, but hadn't seen for a
Yeah,
few years?
it was really cool. It was really cool, and I think for both parties, because I guess a lot of people probably remembered me as a little kid, and then I come back and I'm a fair bit bigger, and then also for me, like I hadn't seen them or talked to them in ages, and then I come back and it was always quite nice. I mean, it's a lovely cast. Everyone I've met on set has been very nice, very warm, very welcoming. And I think for me, a lot of the times it was very easy to feel a bit like an outsider
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact, like you said, a lot of the time I just wasn't there.
Right.
So there was always that fear of going back and feeling a bit like I was, yeah, like worrying that I wasn't going to be, seen as a part of the cast. But
Mm-hmm.
they were always so warm every time I got back. They were always they just made me feel right at home every time I was fortunate enough to be back on set. So yeah, it was good. It was really good.
That always helps, kind of sliding back into the role. So obviously your character, I mean, in addition to kind of jumping in and off, was a little bit unique among a lot of them. He wasn't the big hero or things like that. So did you have was there a favorite scene that you had, looking back on it? Was there any scene that was harder to film than others?
Oh man, I don't know. They were all very. I enjoyed all of them, to be honest. And they're all quite unique in their own ways. They all have their own little, quirks and things. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of favorite ones. There are, I mean, the one, man, I think I enjoyed all of them. I think, it's weird. It's such a long time ago. I'm trying to like remember it, but no, I think, well, for starters, just going into set the first time,
Mm-hmm.
that very first time, season one, I get on set and I see, wow, like just wow, like we go to the paint hall, the big studio,
Mm-hmm.
I walk through all the kind of back roads, like the back alleys on set, because you have, all these like bits to get to where the actual set is. So going through all the stuff, and then suddenly, bam, I'm in the Erie, I'm in the castle,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing this huge, colossal thing. I was only a kid, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was just gonna be all like green screen, as would have been done with a lot of shows and films. But then to get there and actually see the set like a real thing, like it felt so real. That was amazing. Seeing that for the first time. Um, what else? Filming. There were a couple of scenes outside that I did, which were really brief, but for me they were quite interesting to do. There was the one scene where it was with the Falcon, where Uncle Peter, where little thing he gives me the gift of the Falcon, and that was quite cool. And it was a fun scene to do. It was a fun I mean, it was fun to hang out with the Falcon for a day.
Yeah.
The fighting scenes, there was, I'm not fighting, but there were a couple of the scenes where Robin Arryn is like fighting, right? He's like
Practicing. Yeah.
They were really fun to do. I mean, it was like, that was the first time I'd ever had like any sort of like martial arts instruction,
Right.
you know. And obviously there wasn't much instruction needed, but it was still fun to have like a bit of training for a day.
Yeah.
And what else? The tantrum scenes were always fun. They were probably the most fun, actually. Yeah. I mean, stamping on the castle, now that I think about it, was really fun.
On the snow castle. Yeah.
It was therapeutic. It was really therapeutic.
Yeah.
Like, just over and over again, they'd bring in a new castle, I'd like beat the out of it, and then they'd bring in another one. Like, it was just on and on and on. Almost got tired of it by the end of it, but I didn't. It was really fun.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Uncle Peter, Aiden Gillen. I mean, he was obviously probably he's your primary scene partner for the most part. I mean, you had some stuff with Sophie Turner and some other actors and actresses, but he was your primary scene partner. So what was it like working with him, and did he ever give you any advice, on a particular scene or anything he passed on?
Oh, let me think. In terms of advice, I'm trying to think of now anything that nothing's coming to mind now. But he was definitely, I think I probably learned a lot just from watching, really, just from being on set. And I think that is a big part of it, of like being an actor, is picking up a lot of stuff on the go. Like watching someone else do that, and you're kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why they made that choice. I wonder why, why they're saying it like that. Like why they kind of little things that you pick up on, and then sometimes you don't even pick up on it like rationally, consciously, but further down the line, you find yourself doing like another role or something else that somehow evokes that memory. Mm-hmm. And then a little bit of that sort of feeds into whatever you're doing there and then. So I think that's for sure. I think not just with Aiden, but with everyone I've worked on Game of Thrones and in general.
Yeah.
It's sort of been I've been very, very lucky to be able to learn from so many people,
Yeah. And since, the show obviously had a giant cast, and y'all were in 100 different locations filming, different countries even at the same time. So was there anybody that maybe you wish, regardless of whether it made plot sense, but was there anybody in particular that you would have liked to have worked with during the show?
Man, good question. I think I would have liked to work more with Peter Dinklage. I mean, we got a couple of scenes and they were great, even though they were quite brief. And I think that was one thing I was like, I really wanted to. He was just a really nice guy to be around. I wanted to. I don't know. He was someone that you really, really had a lot of presence on stage, on set, and it would have been nice to have a couple more with him. Who else? I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many characters. There's so many fascinating characters, isn't it?
It's a hard question to answer.
Just think about it now. Charles Dance. He's just such an incredible actor. Like, just the presence he has. I mean, we kind of crossed on set a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And it was just, I mean, he's such a gentleman. Sure. And I think he's been in the industry for so long as well. Mm-hmm. That would have been someone that was, that I think would have been very interesting to act alongside. But other than that, I think I think there's so many good actors in there that I think everyone would have been interesting to work with. But yeah, sorry, he just came to mind.
No, for sure. I could see him being someone you could learn quite a lot from. With all his experience. So
for sure.
But yeah, did you keep up with the show during your time away? Yeah,
so you were right on your first guess that I was quite young when I started it, so sure. I didn't really watch it then. But then it was funny because by the time I was like old enough to really watch it, there were so many seasons and there were already so many other like TV shows that I was watching at the time that I never went back to catch up, because also I kind of, even though I hadn't seen it, it had been such a part of life, and people were always talking about it. So I kind of had a gist of everything that had gone up until that point.
Sure.
So then I think for the last couple of seasons, I ended up watching like bits and bobs of it. Like, if I was with friends and they were watching it, I'd sit down and watch it with them. Or if I was with my parents and they were watching it, I'd watch it with them. So I kind of got a good part of the last two seasons, but never actually. This is really bad now saying it. I feel kind of guilty. I didn't do my homework. But yeah, no, that's still on the agenda. I feel like I still need to set aside some time, which actually lockdown is a pretty good time to do it.
Good time for TV.
Yeah, so I might have to do that soon. Just set aside a date and be like, okay, I'm going to do this season, then the next, and the next, and the next, and get it done. But yeah, no, I'd love to. I really need to watch it.
And which kind of, I guess, maybe leads to the next question a little bit. You touched on earlier in Robin's earlier seasons, he's kind of inept and he's throwing the tantrums and he can't swing a sword. He can't use a bow. But then when we do finally see him in season 8, you're obviously much older, and there was a huge fan reaction to Lord Robin's glow up. Did that take you by surprise? What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely took me by surprise. Yeah, it was really interesting because I think even the idea of me appearing on the last season,
sure,
was a bit of a gamble. Like, I wasn't sure. It was, it was a big scene. There was loads of other characters, and stuff gets cut out all the time. So I think I was already like myself lucky if I even made it on screen. But when it happened, I mean, it was a surprise. I mean, it was a pleasant surprise. It was a really good surprise. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise. Took me quite off guard.
I just thought it was pretty funny given the gravity of that scene, and it's kind of one of the concluding scenes of the series. And one of the big things seemed to be everybody's reaction to Robin, which was, I think everybody found pretty hilarious. So, so you mentioned you haven't necessarily finished the final scene, but do you have it in the final season? Do you have any thoughts on it? Was there someone else you would have preferred to see on the Iron Throne, Lord Robin?
Yeah, I was about to say, actually. I don't know. I mean, I think, oh man, I think it's very hard to please everyone, isn't it? It's very hard to be like, yeah, to find an ending that would, that everyone can agree on, especially for a show like that, because they have so much of an expectation. There's so much, I don't know, people have dedicated so much of their lives to this show, and to wrap it up is definitely a difficult task. I wouldn't have wanted to be in the writer's shoes, to be honest, for that last season. Is there, I mean, I think I would have liked it if it was a bit longer, if there was a little bit of a, I don't know if I want to say like who should have been on the throne or whatever. I don't think that's my place to say, but I think if it had been a little bit longer, it might have. I don't know. I feel like it could have been a bit. I don't know. It could have been a bit more of a. Maybe it would have felt a bit more complete as an ending, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think. I mean, personally, I wasn't necessarily mad at what happened, but maybe just kind of how it happened. And I think, like you said, if it had just been a little bit longer, it would have felt, I think, more in line with kind of the pace of the previous seasons. Because, previous seasons, we spent a lot of time, building towards things, and it just felt like it, kind of jumped a little bit too much. So, but again, yeah, like you said, the expectations were sky high. It was probably near impossible to actually meet those expectations. So, anyways, so moving on though, basically the final question is what have you been up to since Game of Thrones, and where can everybody look to see you next?
Yeah. So it's been a while now. It's been a couple of years. I finished school basically the year I finished the last season.
Mm.
And then had 1 year studying in an art college, then had a gap year. And then I started filming for Sex Education season 2. Yeah, season 2.
Yeah.
So that's out. That's on Netflix. If you want to see that, it's a good show.
Wildly different from Game of Thrones.
Wildly different. But I'd say it's worth the watch.
Yeah.
Take my word for it. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't watch it. But it was that was a fun experience to do. And what else? So I'm in the. I don't know if am I allowed to say that? Yeah, I think I'm allowed to. I was filming the 3rd season of that. Just over, and should be out soon. I don't know when it's going to come out. People always ask me when these things are going to come out. I never know. They keep us in the dark about this mostly.
Yeah.
And so sex education is like the big thing that I can talk about at the moment. There's a couple of other things that are in the pipeline, but I don't know what I'm allowed to say, so I'm not gonna risk it. But that's
how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for it, and we appreciate the time. Like I said, this is Lino Facioli, Lord Robin Arryn from Game of Thrones. Good to talk to you and catch up, and hopefully we'll be seeing you around pretty soon.